Musaba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassama finds Musaba. Yeah!
Now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
Is a takeover on the horizon? Is Chansiri's tenure at the helm of this football club about to come to an end? Will we have American owners soon? Maybe they're from somewhere else as well. You know, you never know. It certainly feels that way, but not before Mr. Chansiri can leave a legacy and get rid of all the assets before he leaves. Hello and welcome to Wednesday Tie Dye podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me this evening is Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how's it going, mate? You all right?
Howdy, partners. Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
I'll get rid of the American flag now. Just it's not happened yet. It's not happened, people. I don't know anything. I just thought it'd be funny. So before anyone starts, I just thought I'd get that one out of the way. When I told Matt that what we're going to be doing, he was just like, "Oh no."
Funny though.
Yeah, funny. That's that's what we like to do here. We are entertainment. That is the name of the game here. Yes, you might come here for proper football chat, but we haven't had that for quite some time, have we? To be fair,
30 odd days before we can talk about that mess.
Players, what football matches? What are they like?
Formation.
Do you know what? I did actually think, like early on today. I think to myself like, there's actually some fixtures that need to actually happen here, and like the whole point of this is that we go to watch the football and watch Sheffield Wednesday win games. But it kind of got lost on me to be fair. But no, yeah. Matt, been up to much this weekend?
So my wife's birthday this weekend, so doing the full round of like taking Alfie, my son, off her hands and just letting her have a full weekend of clear air to do whatever it is that she'd like to do.
So you're saying there was no golf this weekend? Is that what we're saying?
No, there was golf on Saturday. Okay, there was golf. Come on.
I nearly started panicking there. I thought, Jesus Christ, how's he managed to get the golf in?
Don't be stupid. Saturday evening, there was 14 rounds before I lost the light. So yeah, come on.
Fair enough. I broke that NDA that I signed last week, the never drinking again, because when it was, to be fair, I did preempt it last week, so it was only going to last for a week because it was the future brother-in-law's stag do, like the one not in Germany this time. So that was another heavy session. Got in at about 10, so it wasn't too late, but we started drinking at about 2 in the afternoon. Wife just said, "You were really drunk last night." I was like, "Was I?"
The giveaway was you came in the house going USA, USA, and tried to pay the Uber in dollars.
Yeah, ringing Frankie Simek at the same time. Trying to have a group chat with Frankie Simek and John Hawkes. But no, went into that Capital. I think it's near on Cambridge Street. Very nice in there. But I do want to give a shout out to Lowe, who I saw after coming out of there. He went, "It's James Mappin in it from the podcast." And I was like, yeah. And then I did say to him as well that I'd give him a shout out. And I also told his missus, what's it like to know that he listens to me more than he listens to you? So, which didn't go down very, very well.
That's an argument in the cab on the way home, isn't it? That.
Well, to be fair, we might have chuffing episodes we've had in the past week. It won't, if he's listening to them all, then yeah, it probably won't be far off, to be honest. But anyway, right, we're going to be talking about the apparently a bid's been accepted according to sources. Obviously, we did the episode on Friday, which people might have already watched. There was a name, Francesco Guardascione, which every time I say it, I just think when you on Friday when you were like,
Guardascione, who was he then, right?
That's all I can think about when I see his name. So yeah, we've got a little bit more on him. As to whether it's going to be relevant or not, I sincerely hope it isn't. But we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Also, it was revealed today there's quite a bit of money owed. Shock to various various different places. A couple of extra clubs have been added onto that list as well, and some values, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then, as I kind of alluded to at the top, Gassman's gone to Rangers, or going to Rangers. Musaba's already been at the grand reveal in Turkey. And by the way, given the kind of welcome that he got, he didn't get that at Sheffield 6, did he, at all? We weren't waiting at East Midlands Airport for him to come in. So that looked
all far too exciting. All far too exciting for us.
Yeah, he was doing the whole hey, like, I think we've trademarked that, mate. Like, you can't just go to Turkey and start getting them doing it as well.
You chant stealing bastards. You know what you are.
Yeah, and then there's also a rumor that Max Lowe is off to Preston as well, which we'll talk about. So do stick around, Matt. Let's start off then and talk about these so-called bids. Like just to recap, Friday saw it announced by some of the local journalists that the club, or more specifically Dejphon Chansiri, had accepted a bid from an interested party. Now, it wasn't revealed who that interested party is or was, but we've had a few names thrown around as to who it could be. 3, maybe 4, John Textor being one in his Eagle Football Holdings group, another being Tilman Fertitta of the Houston Rockets and NBA franchise. Well, there's also a Monaco consortium, and then another name which was revealed. I don't know if it's part of the Monaco consortium or not. There's not been a great deal about him, but Francesco Guardascione. That was, like I said, announced when we were live on Friday, and we're scrambling around to try and find something on him, and we'll kind of touch on him first. But it doesn't sound great about him, does it, at all? When you do a bit of digging, it looks. I sincerely hope it isn't him that is interested.
No, I mean, I think on Friday, I can't remember whether I said it on air or whether I said it away from the podcast on Friday to yourself. It all feels a little Massimo Cialino at Leeds to myself. Even a really quick dive into him and his family, everything seems very uninspiring, to the point of, I think it's his son's Instagram where he's claiming to be on holiday, and it's just clearly screenshots from like a hotel's website of like their promo photos of, I'm supposed to be on holiday here. He's very, very, and I could be wrong here, and if I am, I'll hold my hands up happily. Feels very Eric Alonso.
It does. Yeah,
with this, like, again, there's all sorts of stuff online. There is, inside of 24 hours of knowing about that bid, Matt Thomas had done a huge deep dive on him and his family, and the work that Matt had done into that inside of an evening was very impressive.
Can I just say as well, can people stop giving people shit for just kind of trying to find stuff out? Like, if you don't believe it or don't agree with it, just let it go. Like, like Matt, he's deleted all his posts off of Twitter now. He's deleted all the stuff to do with Sheffield Wednesday. He's vanished. He's gone. Because he's been getting. There was a thread on Owls Talk all about him and people, calling him out and stuff. Like, he's just trying to do a bit of research. He's obviously quite good at it. He's got contacts in various other places. He doesn't ever claim to know the guy. He just, he's just done some. He knows where to look to find all this stuff out, and obviously pulls all that data together. And the reason why he's got a blue tick is because his posts are chuffing. It's a good read. When you're reading them. So rather than having 4,000 Twitter posts all one underneath each other, he's obviously felt it relevant to pay for a blue tick, and he can just do it all in one. So stop giving people shit, honestly.
Now, the one thing that I would just like to add to that, in terms of people going, well, who is he, all the rest of it, Matt has got, arguably, out of people who I have come across and spoken to in the very short time, and no, I'm not a professional journalist in any way, shape or form, and I don't try and pretend to be, just to be clear on that. Matt has got really, really serious contacts in America, very, very serious, well-respected beat journalists from local areas and also national journalists. And he's got that through writing on baseball, which is where he is really passionate about and has done a lot of his writing previously. He just so happens to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan. And as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, he is using those contacts to check out rumours that are and could be applicable to our situation currently, with the fact that we are rumoured to be in with bids from 2 potential American sources. That's all he's trying to do. And with the particular one that we're talking about here, the deep dive that he'd done on him is genuinely, whether you agree with the information or not, is absolutely fantastic. And as we have long peddled on here, James, knowledge is king. You can make a decision on somebody whether or not the more knowledge that you have on them. It's one of the reasons why we are not a huge I suppose not huge admirers of Dejphon Chansiri's reign. There's several reasons, but this being a huge one of them is the information is never forthcoming. You have to go and dig on it. You have to go and find it. And the reason why we've got ourselves into this situation as a fan base is because we haven't done enough of this over the past. I hold my hands up, very admittedly open, public forum. I did not do enough digging on this person and was not shouting about this from the rooftops for as long as I should have been doing so. Should have been doing so from 2018 up until we spoke about it previously, James, when we've covered the chairman individually. And I know we're getting off topic here a little bit. Probably up until about 2019, 2020, where I was firmly he's just been badly advised. Whereas actually it should have been, right, let's do all of this digging early doors.
The thing is, I think he brought a lot of credit by getting us to the playoff final, and then the playoffs final, the season after. That bought him a lot, and then people were very reluctant to kind of say anything. If you said anything bad about him, he instantly got shot down because you were just being negative. When actual facts, the warning signs were there, weren't they? Everyone was like, yeah, but this, and yeah, but that, yeah, but he spent all this money, yeah, but he's done this, and so it took a long time, and people still actually reference those days. Well, you weren't moaning back in 2016, were you? Like the people still say all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, he has just took a hell of a long time to actually. Get over that. Just back on the Francesco situation, I saw a tweet after, and it nearly won the internet. To be fair, it was a cracky one. It was said something like, Tilman is like asking for a Chinese on you. But it's like expecting a Chinese on way home, getting in and seeing that slow cooker's on. In reference to the fact that
we've got Chinese in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. So I read it and I thought it was great, and it just perfectly sum it up as well, because everyone's getting really excited about. I think someone said we could be like 7th richest club in England or something like that, and then you look and you go, oh yeah, it could be this dodgy bloke who looks like he's from The Sopranos. Do you know what I mean? Like that ends, and it would be our luck that it will be end up being someone like that. You set your expectations so high, you get really, really carried away, singing American national anthems and stuff like that.
Who do that? Who do that?
Yeah, an idiot. But then it's just it would be so us to then get someone who is just absolutely dog shit.
Yeah, I think the other thing with this particular bidder, as opposed to the other 3 rumoured bidders who are in, I would suggest the proof is in how much information was readily available inside of 24 hours and the validity of that information that was coming out. I'm not questioning, obviously, the discussion that we've just had surrounding what fans were releasing. I'm talking about the fact that a supposed screenshot of signatures with Chansiri and also Francesco Guardascione's signature on and dated were released to several fans if you knew the right Facebook account to go to, which was posted on social media for people to go to. I for full disclosure, I didn't message that Facebook account. It was stuff that was posted. I think that gives you straight away a red flag of you sit there and go, well, hang on. The other 3 who are around this, who've all signed non-disclosure agreements to stop this type of shit happening, absolutely nothing has come out of those at all, aside from 2 names. One, presumably John Textor. The other one, in Fertitta, is being reported on by credited journalists, like professional journalists. This particular consortium, a no-named Facebook account is releasing a screenshot of a supposed NDA signature with both of their deals on. Now, again, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to hold my hands up, but that should be enough of a red flag to suggest that this isn't the preferred, or shouldn't be the preferred bidder out of the four, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way anyway. And yeah, I mean, when you do look into him as well, the work that Matt's been doing, previous failed takeovers of both Italian and Spanish clubs due to unpaid money. Apparently that's happened multiple times. Also accused of scamming young players with fake contracts. Also had fake Adidas sponsorship as well. Like you said there's so many red flags about him. And I mean, a lot of people have been saying it's not going to be him. He'll not pass the fitting proper person's test and stuff. But you never know whether he's just kind of a front man or not. It could just be an absolute load of bollocks as well. But we have to kind of treat it. It's been reported by a respected journalist, and a lot of people say, I'll only believe it if these certain people say it, and Rob Staten being one of them. So there's got to, you'd like to think there would be some sort of truth in it, but who knows? I mean, just on the other ones as well, John Textor and Tilman Fertitta and stuff like that. Have you had any other thoughts over these past couple of days about that sort of situation?
I still, of the three names of the three groups that we know of, that Monaco consortium, John Textor and Tilman Fertitta is still my preferred bidder out of the three, namely because we still don't know anything about the Monaco consortium. We don't know who's in it or anything, or anybody who's involved in it. Tilman Fertitta's track record, shelve the political allegiances for a second, because obviously people will have very strong feelings about his current position within the US government system, and I think he's the Italian representative for the Trump administration at the minute. Shelve that for a second, because if he was to become owner, that would be definitely a discussion topic that would need to be had on the podcast, but it's pointless discussing it at this point in time. He would be the preferred one because of his track record in terms of what he's done with a sports franchise. The reason why he sits above John Textor for myself is because whilst John Textor may have lots of connections within the football world, the three football clubs that he's run are they don't speak in glowing terms of him. National media reports and very, very well-respected football journalists, one being Andy Brassel of the Football Ramble and On the Continent. If you just go and listen to their show from Friday night, from I think it's 23 minutes in, and just listen to the discussion that they have surrounding John Textor, it's laughable in terms of some of the stuff that is being said around him and as an individual. And it's not to do with does he have money. It's nothing to do with actually the funding or anything like that. It's to do with the way in which that he conducts himself in terms of business practices. With regards to Fertitta, yes, you may not agree the fact that he's such a ruthless businessman, because he clearly is a very ruthless businessman. He buys distressed assets and then obviously inflates the value. He has a track record and a history of developing a successful franchise in America, in the Houston Rockets, in terms of ripping out the heart of it to begin with and building from ground up, which is exactly what we've already done. The first bit of that, Sheffield Wednesday. We've ripped and stripped back everything pretty much as far as it can go, not by an actual business plan. It's simply by inability of ownership of the current owner. So actually we are coming in with a blank slate, and we have seen that this individual appoints the right people to the right positions. From an ownership perspective also, he does the right thing. And I mean this, I suppose, as this isn't going to sound nice. He signs the checks, he employs the right people, he keeps his nose out of it, which is exactly what you want from any sort of an ownership group.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you don't want them to be meddling in all the stuff that, quite frankly, like, he's not going to know a great deal about it all, is he really? Like, when he,
no,
he might know about, basketball. That might be his preferred sport of choice. But when it comes to soccer, as he would call it, like, he probably ain't got a clue. I was speaking to, other people as well, and they've said, it's not going to be Tilman, because no way is someone worth $10 billion going to be buying Sheffield Wednesday, which I suppose, on the face of it, you do look at it and think, it does seem a little bit odd. But if he does buy distressed assets, as you've mentioned, then maybe maybe this is another one of those distressed assets, and he feels like he could, make some sort of money out of it. I mean, just tap him on the shoulder and just tell him you don't make money out of football clubs, because that's not really. But I don't know if it just goes, just goes on his. Maybe he's just putting his toe in the water and maybe wants bigger and better things later, and he thinks, no, I'm going to have a go at this, and I might have something else, Premier League club later on down the line or something.
And that Premier League club you could pick up currently for anywhere in between the region of 50 to 100 million pounds, which, correct me if I'm wrong, James, you're not going to be able to pick up many Premier League clubs for that type of price. Yes, the investment will have to be significantly more than that. But if I just look at what's happening, 6 miles up the road at Birmingham City from me, Birmingham City so far have gone out and made some absolutely outstanding acquisitions. Have spent, yes, £10 million on one player, and they spent £15 million on Jay Stansfield, but because the American investment model that is working there has actually budgeted for all of this and has worked on growing their profile in America and kind of other investment strategies, it's actually they're going to balance the books. You are able, I agree with this comment here from Mike Crawshaw here. Sorry, James. It's this: you can make a lot of money on Wednesday. It's the exception to the rule at the moment that clubs like Wrexham, Birmingham City make money. But there is an exception if you are smart and go about it in the right model. Both of those clubs have a very different model to the traditional English values and the English way of running a football club, of just playing money into it and just take your Premier League money and stay there for a little while and all the rest of it. Currently, both of those clubs haven't touched the top flight in quite a long time, Wrexham in particular. But you are looking at their running a football club in a very different manner. Now, you could argue the American football model, if we're looking at the downsides of it, yeah, you are going to go on pre-season tours to Texas. You are going to go and play in front of those stadiums. You are going to see some absolute cringe adverts, including our players. You are going to see the club marketed in a very different way. But if that brings on blue chip sponsorship, if it means renaming Hillsborough Stadium, if it means a whole renaming training grounds, all of those type of things that people, I suppose, will nitpick at, and they are doing at Wrexham and Birmingham City, at our present point, it's a trade-off that's worth making, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if that means that extra money's coming in, and like, I think we floated the idea of having a sponsor for Hillsborough Stadium, many times, and quite often people just say, "Do you know what? I don't care, because it will always be Hillsborough to me." Yeah, and that is true thing. You're not going to be like, "Oh, I'm just heading down to the, I don't know, insert name here, stadium." By the way, the worst one has got to be. Is it Walsall, the Poundland Stadium? I mean,
Poundland Stadium is tough look. Tough Sheet is also quite bad at Bolton. Yeah.
but it works though, doesn't it? Because do you know what? Everyone's fucking talking about it. Like, so that's just how it is, isn't it? I'm just going to read a few comments. I do keep them coming in, of course. Barry says Textor with a thumbs up. Nat says the Italian guy pulls off the mask and it's Chris Wilder, Scooby-Doo style. Alex says he wants Textor, but mainly because he says we can get free transfers from his other clubs. And then we've got Steve BDI Smith says, if it is the Italian guy, will he be presented with an uncut pizza from Morrison's like Di Canio was? And then Matt Talbot says, I'd take Textor or Tilman. It comes back to that, like, kind of, I'd have anyone at the moment. Just on this one, then Adam said, your thoughts on the funds website saying we have already been bought. You've been doing a little bit of digging on, not necessarily that article, but like what the actual website is and how it kind of sort of operates. So obviously, just for context as well, it got put up there, or someone's put out a guy called David, digital business owner on Twitter. The sale of the Sheffield Wednesday was listed on funds with a Z, not an S, yesterday evening, then taken down in the early hours of the morning. EFLA in the last hour said a bid has been accepted. The legal document on funds listed Tilman Fertitta as the buyer. That's what he said. So you've done a bit of digging to find out what this website actually is. Yeah, so the original screen grab that was going around was of I think it was a Google search where somebody's put in clearly funds and then Fertitta, and the actual screen grab that is going round is Tilman Fertitta is reportedly in advanced discussions to acquire Sheffield Wednesday amid the club's financial challenges, which isn't wrong from all of the stuff that we have heard as individuals.
Now, again, I am more than happy to be proved wrong on any of this. And if I am speaking out of turn, I am happy for people to come and correct me here, because, again, this is not my area of expertise in any way, shape or form. When Dejphon Chansiri asked, do you run a business? My answer would have been no, so I'm not qualified. The website itself, my understanding of it is it is a platform to report on sales and acquisitions of businesses. They range from a variety of small businesses all the way up to kind of like larger scale businesses, and it just reports the news effectively. It's a different place for people to go and get their news from surrounding this. Now, I would imagine that very much relates to people who sit within kind of like a financial world and a financial parlance. Like, I can't pretend that I'm sat here reading the Wall Street Journal every morning, because quite simply I'm not. My understanding is that the website scans the internet for information surrounding people. It pieces several articles together. It puts several things. So, if you typed in Tilman Fertitta, who is currently, I think is it the 186th wealthiest businessman on the planet. I think it's that, or 187th. Correct me on the details. He's top 200 anyway.
He's got a bit of brass, basically.
Yeah, he's got a bit of coin. That will have, I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine programmed into the software of how to scan the internet for this type of information. It will have a hit list of particular people who, if they are making moves or if their names are mentioned, that website runs a scan to generate more information, and then it digs up more and more articles and more articles, and before you know it, bang, it forms this own article. There was then reports that this particular article was then posted, but then immediately taken down. Now, from having a couple of discussions with people who work in similar industries in terms of website design, rather than anything to do with actually the actual website itself, they seem to suggest, but they don't know, so again, it's not gospel, that if a website generates a lot of its news based off key searches for key individuals, it will generate an article and it'll put it out. And then when somebody wakes up in the morning, like a monitor, so like Facebook has monitors who come on and check for content, these websites will have the same. What happens is that a monitor will come on to see whether it is real or not, and then may remove an article. Now, there is some dispute here with people who use that website very regularly, who have said that actually that website posts news about financial information and bits and pieces. Ultimately, what I would suggest is, again, as we've been saying for a couple of weeks since we entered into actual discussions of how, not a couple of weeks, a week, have we actually entered into proper discussions with a football broker, with registered interested parties? The only thing that I would say, James, and I know you had your America flag and your Budweiser and all the rest of it on there, is I would say, can we just wait for official news on this particular type of topic? Because Tilman Fertitta is an incredibly serious individual. And I'm not suggesting us talking about it will scare people away, because it simply won't. It's more to do with the fact of, if you have signed an NDA, that is exactly the reason why you signed them, to stop this type of news leaking out of people's mouths. The only way that people will know is if they do have an inside source within one of those parties and a connection. That is the only way, realistically, I can see on the surface of it, we will know.
So after that bombshell, we're going back to best 11 from 2000 to 2010 loan players only. So yeah, I do get what you're saying though. Like, honestly, like, and I think it's very difficult not to, as a Wednesday fan, that we feel like we've been dragged through the mud for so long now. Constantly, bad news after bad news, and that's certainly in the last 2 or 3 months or so, it has been very difficult. But even when you go before that as well, there's been so many things that we've just had to just put up with and stuff. So when you do get a little bit of, a glimmer of hope, it is very difficult not to start getting carried away with it and stuff like that. John's just said, is that James being told off there?
Take that, America flag. That no, but that's James. The whole point of it is, as fans, is you're supposed to get excited by this type of shit.
You only get excited because you care, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Because if you didn't care, you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, these things happen all. Do I care that Wrexham have got the owners that they've got? No, I don't really care at all. Like, do I care about the Birmingham ones either? I mean, you probably care a little bit more just by virtue of the fact where you live. And again, you've got to listen to them constantly talking about it all and stuff like that. But like again, no, I don't have a vested interest in all that, so it doesn't really matter.
Alex, I could not agree more with this comment. Football is all about emotion. I could not agree with you more, and that is exactly it. Is irrespective of who you agree with, who you disagree with, anything to do with that is posted on socials, it is very, very obvious that people care so deeply about this football club and people are desperate for good news. My God, do I hope, and all of that cold water that I've just poured all over that particular article that came out there, my God, do I hope I'm wrong. Like, my God, do I hope I'm wrong. But again, as I said it on Friday, James, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't sit here and say, I said it right at the top of the show, as a fan base, we should be questioning stuff when it seems a little bit too good to be true. That, to me, didn't read through as all of the other news that we've heard has come out of local journalists doing good reporting on this. That is when I will start putting out the American banners and celebrating the 4th of July, is the honest answer. Because we are not in the position that we were in 2 months ago, where there was a consortium trying to do a deal with the chairman, and news was coming out left, right, and centre every single day. And that's not through the fault of a potential bidding party, that's through the fault of the owner deciding to actually undertake the sale in a proper and orderly fashion as it should have been done from the first moment. That grey area allowed the chairman to talk shit about that consortium. It allowed him the airspace to talk shit about Darren Moore. It allowed him the airspace to talk shit about all the other players, about all the fans, about, like he has done previously, signing an NDA stops all of that bollocks.
Yeah, Stanington just said it's been a tough 25 years. We're due to turn the corner, aren't we? Yeah, I hope so, definitely. Let's just move on then slightly. Let's talk about our current owner, Dejphon Chansiri, and the current situation that we find ourselves in. It was revealed earlier today, kind of just the extent of the money that he's owed by the club. This was Alan Nixon of The Sun. I don't really read The Sun, but nor do I kind of take much notice what Alan Nixon has said. But he's put it out there, so we'll certainly talk about it. Chansiri is said to owe £4 million in football debts, which he says will have to be paid by the new owners. We also owe 2.2 million to the HMRC for both June and July. Not only that, but we owe players in the region of 1.6 million pound for the wages for both May and June. And then on top of that, Southampton and Brighton are owed money for both Shea Charles and James Beadle, respectively, with both Hull and Norwich also being owed some money. I don't know what the Hull one is for off the top of my head. Malik Wilkes?
Yeah,
maybe?
Possibly, who's just gone off. He left us and has just signed for somebody else, hasn't he? Because there's another Sheffield Wednesday player who's just found a new club.
Pendick is where he signed.
Sure. Same place as, what was his name? Guy who, appalling clearance, Clark Harris, appalling clearance for Peterborough. Both, a pair of them have gone over there, yeah.
Yeah, it's gone to Turkey to be playing against Anthony Musaba, which we'll come on to in a second. But Matt, the money just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up. And, again, it's not going to be too long where there's going to be some more bills that need paying. We still haven't been told whether the staff have been paid. I feel like that's a topic that's just kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit, by us as well. It was the hot topic at one point. It was literally every day, they haven't been paid. And now it's just like, they just work for free. Then the players haven't been paid either. And that just keeps mounting up and mounting up. But yeah, I suppose, did you realize the extent of the money that we owe?
I think everybody suspected it, didn't we, James? Everybody suspected it, and we were saying that last week that, I definitely peddled this, that it's actually good that all of this is coming to light because, it's very much there now in black and white, just how much as a fan base we've let this owner get away with. The sale price or reported figure for the club isn't just going to be that. It's going to be all of this shit as well. It's going to be all of these additional things that you are there. And I would imagine during the due diligence process, these are the first item of agenda for renegotiating a price that you agree on. This is the first thing. Well, actually, you owe this. So, yeah, I'll pay it. But I'm also taking off insert whatever here.
Dave said the same thing. Won't that debt come off the price of the club? Well, yeah, you certainly use it as a negotiation tool, don't you? Surely.
Yeah. I think, honest answer to your question, James, would I say I'm surprised? I'm surprised at how far back it goes. Was I necessarily surprised about the money that was owed to Southampton and Brighton? No. I think the thing that I would also be really puzzled about is why did clubs keep loaning us players? Like, why did they keep giving us players? I mean, from our perspective, it worked out really well in terms of Brighton and Southampton there. We talked about two, irrespective of what you feel about James Beadle now, there were two key players at the start of us for last season. Like, they were both, the first team regulars.
And it's funny as well, Matt, how during January, everyone were praising Chansiri, going, he's put some more money in. He's paid Southampton. He's put some more money in to keep him. Oh my, he's fantastic. He cares for the club so much. Actual fact, he hasn't paid fuck all.
Yeah, he hasn't paid fuck all. He's just convinced somebody to loan him some players, or gone out and signed Stuart Armstrong and Rio Hatsuse on pennies, like
monopoly money.
Yeah, monopoly money. Because again, he knew that. Well, covering old ground in terms of knowing what he knew and nobody else did at that time, but. Yeah, it's a really sad state of affairs on how this has ended up. But again, James, I'd be talking out of both sides of my mouth here if I hadn't said that I've been crying out for this news coming out of the football club in terms of wanting to know just how poorly run it is, just so that strength of feeling that people have had surrounding this chairman can be laid bare for every single person who is a Sheffield Wednesday fan or a wider football fan, just to see how catastrophically wrong this chairman has got it since 2018.
Yeah, it just shows as well how, yes, we've been looking to sell players. We're going to be talking about a couple of them in a second. But that's obviously why, and I suppose as well, when you look at it, that's why he's hung on to Danny Röhl for as long as he possibly could. And, I said at the time when this kind of the figure, the actual £5 million compensation figure was kind of revealed. I said at the time, that just shows how much money Chansiri hasn't got. The fact that we've got to this point and he's trying to hold on to it, given how poor the end of the season kind of finished. Anyone else, and like the things that Danny Röhl had been saying in the media and stuff, you would just literally just go, right, know what, this ain't working. Off you go, mutually terminate your contract and move on. But clearly, like when you see all these figures and how much money he's now owed, he was banking on getting that money. And yeah, he's now obviously selling a few players. What, $2.5 million for Gassama reportedly, 800 grand reportedly for Musaba. That's 3.3. Well, he owes 4 to in debts. He's got 2.2 to HMRC. I mean that's 3.8 just to HMRC and wages. Yeah, the selling of the two players doesn't even cover that. So, like, we're still in, that doesn't get him over the line. And then there's going to be more things happening. And guess what? That football's not started yet. So we ain't got any other revenue coming in either. So yeah, it's a real problem.
He sold 2 of our better. One is definitely one of our best players that we currently have contracted to the football club in Djeidi Gassama. The other one being Anthony Musaba. Again, we'll come on and touch on him properly in a second. But again, hit and miss for me personally. Not my type of footballer, but goals and assists you can't argue with. Very, very instrumental in that. It's also the reason why we're selling arguably the club's best youth asset to Manchester City for 1.5 million. Is because he owes all this much money.
Matt makes a great point here. He says he only kept hold of Röhl because he couldn't afford to sack him. If he had money, he would have sacked Röhl in January. Where's all that money gone from selling young cads, Musaba? Because we ain't got that money yet, is my understanding. Yeah. That's why that's not. I forgot about Cadamashi at £1.5 million for him. But to Matt's point though, you could have mutually terminated, which I don't think Danny Röhl would. He would want that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he would happily take that, and he'll back himself that he's going to go and get another job. I don't think he really particularly needs to be paid off. Or anything
See,
like
I would argue, James, in that situation, both want their money.
Probably now.
Yeah.
Now they're probably thinking, you know what, you've fucked me about for so long. Then yes, I am going to take you to the cleaners and want as much money as I possibly can. Again, maybe it's me being a little bit naive, I guess. I
don't think so. I agree. I think with your comments there, and I do agree with Matt there and the broader point 100%. I think if you roll it back to January, I think Roll probably would have wanted out of it, but at that point, I think there was probably still a very strong sense of feeling and loyalty towards the football club. And I'm not suggesting that Danny Röhl is in any way unloyal or disloyal to the football club. I think he's become completely disillusioned by what the football club represents, and that's clouded by the owner. But I think you could probably chuck a lot of us as fans in there as well. You know, we're much better at, suggest separating the two, but that's because we see a world before and after Chansiri. Whereas if you're Danny Röhl and this is all you've experienced at this football club, it is going to be intrinsically tied up, isn't it? Like it is going to be the two together. And now, I would imagine previous weeks, I fuck knows what's going to happen this week. Like with the reported, everybody's back in for training. Röhl might be there, he might not. He wants to come back, but he might not come back. Who knows? It'd be really interesting to see what happens this week in terms of that development and that story that broke last week.
Yeah, Alex has just said, Danny due back in Middlewood Road tomorrow. Is he not going to be interesting? And then Alex said, yeah, tomorrow should be interesting with Danny clearly air talks with the players, according to Sky Sports. Well, we are going to be talking about that on Extra Time. We're going to be talking about Danny Röhl and that whole situation. So if you want to listen to that one, then head over to Patreon, patreon.com/WTID pod. We'll be recording that straight after this show. So head over there now and get yourself signed up. I'm going to read a few more comments out. John Smith says it's going to be the Bubba Gump Arena.
Hope so.
Yeah. Jay says, when did Hull and Brighton turn up on IOUs? Well, today is what Alan Nixon said. But I think when the report came in about the Southampton and the Norwich ones, it did say and other clubs, but the other clubs weren't named. So presumably these are the other two, and it does make the Hull one not so, but the Brighton one certainly does make sense because I think they were reporting that it's unpaid wages, so the club would still continue to pay both Beadle and Shea Charles in Southampton and Brighton respectively, and then there would be a deal that had been negotiated for us to pay a certain percentage of that. So that's obviously what we've not paid.
Sorry, James, I'm just pulling this one up here from Dejphon. Any chance for free Patreon sub, lads? I've got nothing left. All I hear when I see that is that EastEnders clip of I've got nothing left.
Yes, definitely. What else we got? This one, maybe one for you, because I know you've been talking to a few people. Lady Builder says, what's happened to the Show consortium?
I will be honest, in all of the Sheffield Wednesday news that's gone off this week, I haven't had as much of a chance to speak to Adam as I would have liked to. The honest answer is they are, from my understanding of it, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, they are conducting themselves exactly as an NDA process and a football broker would require them to. Rather than just being in discussions with one man, they are now in discussions with a football broker who has certain requirements and certain requests from them. They are at that point in time going to, if they are going to put in and throw their hat into the ring for another bid, they are obviously bound by playing by the rules of the game in that respect. So I would imagine, I don't know anything, I would imagine if they are doing so, that's hence why we haven't heard anything coming out, because again, the chairman has finally put an adult in the room from their perspective, and is asking them to adhere to that particular process of signing NDAs, or if NDAs have gone out to them, which again, I don't know, they simply aren't allowed to talk about it. The same way that all of these bidding parties, Textor, Tilman, Guardascione, they all can't talk about it.
Yeah, just I've got another one from James Saville. Just says Andre Green and Wilkes have signed for the same club in Turkey. Andre Green.
What year are we in? No, also Clark Harris has gone there as well. Clark Harris as well. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Do you know what? As well, just on a tangent, but Malik Wilkes. What? Knowing like years gone by, when people say like who's kind of one of the biggest flops at your club. I know everyone's going to.
Alman Abdi, Jordan Rhodes,
But I think Malik Wilks also has to be up there. Everyone were looking at his record at Hull and saying, League One. But it didn't really work for him in the Championship, but we're in League One now. He's gonna; those goals are gonna fly, and really just did not. He scored. I want to remember he scored a good goal in a cup one particular year, and I was like, "This is it. He's back." Malik Wilks, what a player! And then we just never ever saw it, did we, from him?
I still think there's a player in there. I just think it's very, very deeply buried. Because again, raw pace and being able to cut in from a wide position and hit the ball into the back of a net is a really difficult skill. And we did see that in flashes at Hillsborough in his first season here. Sad for him in terms of it didn't work out here, but best for everybody involved that he's moved on. Did not get off the bus, I think would be the best way of describing it here. Just didn't get out of the gates.
26 as well, looks about 36. To be fair, he's one of those that's like been around for quite some time without you really, like knowing how young he actually is. Got plenty of years, but he's already, gone off to
that season. That season at Hull seems a long way away now.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, definitely. Right, let's talk about some of these players that are going to be leaving. Or certainly very, very close to leaving in some cases. The first one we'll talk about is Djeidi Gassama to Rangers. So it's probably the one that annoys me the most, if I'm being perfectly honest. A reported £2.5 million for Djeidi Gassama to cross over the border. When you look at his numbers, he's up there when it comes to progressive carries and successful take-ons. But for me, I think we just didn't get enough from him in terms of his goals and his assists. I think he had 12 goals in all in about 80-odd appearances, and I think he had 3 or 4 assists. Not as many as I thought we'd get from someone like him, a pacey winger. Just the end product just wasn't really there. But he had that word, didn't he? That P word, potential, that everyone always talks about.
You see, I would argue, I think he's a top division player when waiting, really. We talk about wanting to sign young players with potential and seeing where they could go to, developing them and selling them on for a fee. This was this lad, in my opinion. If we look at his first season at Sheffield Wednesday, he was obviously signed when Xisco Munoz was manager. Xisco Munoz attempted to take credit for him, Andy Musaba. But he was signed in that first era. Nobody covered themselves in any glory. And that's not an environment for any young footballer to come in and try and do well in. Let's be completely crystal clear about that. 10 games of utter shite, where we had no idea what the brand of football is. Players have openly said we didn't really know what we were supposed to do. That was very obvious to see. You then look at, he didn't really get a run in the team under Röhl from January. He scored his first goal against Hull, wasn't it? Was it New Year's Day?
Yeah.
Where he cut in and hit it into the bottom corner. And then towards the end of that season, he was sort of used in rotation with Jan Poveda. And then when Poveda got injured, he played a little bit more of a key role. But they tended to be taken by Musaba, Windass and Ike Ugbo, those front 3 roles, and he was very much a bit part player. This is his first proper full season, and even at the start of this season, he wasn't the preferred choice. Like, he was, we all thought he was going to set off like a house on fire, and that was it, and we were just going to be playing, flying wingers in terms of Gassama one side, Musaba the other. It didn't really work out like that up until about November. And then November through till February, he was at times in certain games absolutely unplayable. And I don't think that's, I don't think that's speaking above my station. It was in patches. It wasn't for like a really long and prolonged period of time, but there were certain games. If you think about that run against Luton, where he picks the ball up and he won the penalty. Yeah. Picks the ball up, 40 yards from his own goal, and just takes on a team. And then the worst dive ever for the penalty. But he was doing that very regularly. If you think about the goal against Derby, where he's flicked it over the lad's head and just absolutely burned him for pace. All right, the finish is a bit bobbly, but it's ended up in the back of the net. It's the same as the Josh Windass 60-yarder in that game. It still counts as one. He then, I think towards the end of the season, we were over-reliant on him. I think we'd also probably gassed him out in terms of this is his first. Yeah. This was his first season of playing top-level competitive football week in, week out, and you are naturally going to see a drop-off with young players.
Yeah.
If we'd have gone into this season, James, and he was on a 2-year deal, I think in January we should have been looking to cash in on him of this season if we were a well-run club. If he wasn't looking to sign a new deal and stay at the club, this is exactly the season where we should have been getting rid of him. However, as it's turned out, 2.5 million to Rangers reported fee. I think he's a bit gun to the head in terms of reported player didn't want to go. Club have said, we need you to go. We need the money. It's now up in the air a little bit as to whether he's actually going to go or the deal stalled or anything like that. Who knows? But the player don't want to return.
Yeah, that's what we've heard, isn't it? Yeah, he was quite happy at Sheffield Wednesday. I don't know why. The current situation, to be fair, but he was all right, and then they clearly kind of forced him out the door a little bit, and then he didn't have to go far, did he? Because Rangers were also at St George's Park. No. By the way, that friendly that we were supposed to have him with Rangers, has that happened or not? I don't think it did it? We have not heard anything. I know it was behind closed doors, but it weren't in a prison, were it? Or
when in outer space. All the other behind closed season friendlies have been reported.
Yeah, fucking underground or something. Like, surely it would. It must have been cancelled or something. But yeah, Djeidi Gassama's then obviously clearly gone to Rangers. He's met Russell Martin. He'll met some of the other players. He's been snapped in a Rangers training top as well. So I think in the hotel foyer, and he's clearly thought, actually, I think I might be all right. And to be fair, I think he'll probably do all right at Rangers if he plays. I think quite often you see, don't you, players that play with better players, like brings more out of them. So I feel like he'll do all right up there. But yeah, he's clearly, we've said no, we don't want to sell him anymore. He's stalled, apparently waiting on Chansiri's signature. I did expect it to be done by now, but it hasn't. So who knows what's gonna happen there? But do you think Djeidi Gassama will do all right at Rangers?
Yeah, I think it's, again, if you're looking at a natural next step in progression, it makes an awful lot of sense. They're competing for titles. Whether they actually get near them or not is a completely different story. They play in Europe. It wasn't too long ago that they got to, was it the Europa League final? Lost on penalties. I know it's Scottish football goes in ebbs and flows and it turns very quickly. And I know Rangers fans haven't been enamoured with the signing, and they're saying that it's just, it's another mid-table championship winger. He's another player from a mid-table championship team. He is one of the better ones that you are going to be able to pick up at the cut price that you are playing. Had in a different parallel universe, had Danny Röhl ended up at Southampton, I could have seen him going there. Had Danny Röhl ended up at Leicester, I could have seen him going there. I dread to think of this. Had Sheffield United gone up, I could have seen him going there.
Yeah.
Djeidi Gassama is that level of a player, in my opinion, and somebody will fully unlock and realise that potential. And I think I compare him very similar to Fasaya Delibashiro in terms of you can 100% see that there's a player there. I think what you've got with Gassama is it's more obviously recognisable than it was with Fasaya Delibashiro in his time at Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah,
and like I said, wish him all the best if he does go. Lee's just said Rangers played Barnsley yesterday instead of playing us, and he's also said we played Man City's under-21s apparently. Cool. Well, I've not seen anything about it. To be fair, it might have been Wednesday under-21s against Man City's under-21s, because that's who we're going to be playing in it. Really, this season, if we carry on, it will be a bunch of kids. Are you? I mean, well, we might get onto that in a second. Actually, but when you look at the squad, are you worried about what the players are actually going to set foot out? For this first game of the season, because we're seeing players leave. We still, Tuesday they need to be paid because that this is Tuesday or Wednesday is the 15 days is going to be up. So this time next week the squad could look a lot different as well. Like literally, there's zero rumours of any player even training with us or anything at the moment. Like no hint of any incomings whatsoever, and all we're hearing is players that are that are leaving, and we're going to be talking about to one that has left and another one that might be leaving as well. But again, I know why. We haven't got any money. We're not paying them. Like, yeah, we're not going to sign anyone at all. But the time keeps ticking. You mentioned 30 odd days until that first game of the season. Like, we could be absolute bare bones when it comes to that first game.
Nervous, James. I'm fucking terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. 4:30 on Sky against one of potentially the promotion favourites. Last time we went to Leicester, it didn't exactly work out, did it? No. Yeah, I'm shitting myself about it. If let's say for argument's sake, the USA bunting's been popped, you've cracked open all them 24 Budweiser, drunk yourself into another stupor, and there's rumours of we've entered into this process and all the rest of it. Focus will firmly shift to who the fuck's playing?
Yeah.
Who is actually going to be wheeled out? Because arguably our most creative player is without a contract.
Yeah, still.
He's turning up and training, which is very admirable, but he still doesn't have a fucking deal, so he won't be playing in that first game at present.
And do you know what as well? If Chansiri's still here, when he signs that new deal, he'll get a prorated first monthly payment, 100%. Do you know what I mean? If he signs now, he'll get just half a month's wages, 1,000,000%. Even though he's been coming in since since the start of the month. I can just see that happening. The slimy little get.
Honestly, James, we all sat there in the sunshine last August and pissed ourselves laughing at Plymouth. Oh my God, look at how shit that was. You think that's bad? Fucking, we were a mid-table team and they did that to us. Think about what this mob might do to us in 30 odd days' time. Genuinely just stop for a second and think about how bad this could get from a playing perspective. And I know there's a bigger issue and I know there's a bigger picture to it all. But I am legitimately terrified about that 11 that we first put out. On paper, with the contracted players still at this club, our first 11 is still capable of giving sides a game at this level. Yeah. That's before you actually get into who the manager is going to be on that first day. That's before you get into the coaching staff. That's before what the fuck actually pre-season has looked like for this squad.
Yeah.
And then who is actually available to play on that day. Because currently our first choice centre half is still 3 months away from actually being fit in Dejphon Bernard.
Yeah, I've heard September is when he should be back, but
oh my God. Again, when our focus does shift to football, James, because it will have to in the next 2 weeks, when it turns to actual, 11 players on a patch of grass kicking a ball about, oh my word, we'll have a real look at and assess how bad this could get, because, we're talking about Djeidi Gassama. We're going to come on to talk about Anthony Musaba and Max Lowe as well. 3 crucial players for us for this season. Potentially all 3 could be out the door.
Yeah, Natch just said, just wake me up at the end of the season.
Yeah. Fair comment.
If he's a football manager, you'd be going on holiday and then just set it to return at the end of the season. And you look at it and go, oh, that was shit. Moving on. or it'll come back and you'll be like, what? Oh yeah, you've been sacked. Oh yeah.
Does that say 3 points? Fucking hell.
Yeah, we've not even got on to kind of points deductions and stuff like that either. But one that has been confirmed then, Matt, is Anthony Musaba, who's off to the Turkish side Samsunspor, a side that finished 3rd last season behind both Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. They've also qualified for Europa League. I think it's the playoff round, so like the one before the actual Europa League proper. And a reported 800 grand that he's gone for. I mean, I must admit, out of the two, out of Gassama and Musaba, it's not a player that I'm that concerned about. But like anything at the moment, and kind of what we've just been speaking about, like how are we going to replace him with anyone that is better, or even just anyone with the mess that we're in? Do you know what I mean? Like every player that could potentially leaves, you're looking at it and you're thinking, actually, like who are we going to get? Like we're not signing anyone at the moment. Like before, again, we touched on sell a player, use that money to reinvest and do this, that, and the other. We know that money isn't going anywhere other than just to pay the current debts that he's got. So what you're actually doing, you're just making the squad worse. And that's, again, with Musaba, as much as kind of I always compared him to Gassama, rightly or wrongly. And I think on the eye, Gassama was far better player, like, a lot less frustrating. I thought Musaba did frustrate you a bit, but you can't deny that Musaba did turn up with the goals, and quite important goals at times. He came up clutch and just got himself in the right place. And his number, like, you look at his numbers and you're like, bloody hell, he scored, what did he score 6 goals last season? I think it was. And you're thinking, well, he hardly played, like, in comparison to Gassama. But yeah, again, still initially, I'm not that fussed on the grand scheme of things.
I think the reason why these 3 players and what we're talking about here, is a real problem, is because we have the inability to go out and replace them. Like, we don't have the ability to go out and replace them for like or better quality. You are just replacing them for another body. Anthony Musaba for me, I'm going to borrow your favourite phrase, James, speedboat, no driver. 800 grand on the surface of it. I think he had a year left on his deal. We took up the option, didn't we? And then have sold him for 800 grand. I think it's good value. I think the English Championship and perhaps English football on the whole, over the period of a 90-minute game, I think he found difficult. I think he found the physicality difficult. I think he found the defenders who he was coming up against difficult, in terms of he wasn't quick enough to be able to just kick it past them and run. He also had so many tricks in his bag that weren't quite 100% dialed. Like, he beat a player, but not quite enough to get a delivery in. He then beat them again.
He'd seen it on YouTube and he thought, I'm going to give that a go this weekend. And didn't
there was one towards the end of the season. I cannot remember for the life of me who it was against, James. It was at home and it was in front of the Kop at North Stand, right in front of where you are. And he beat a player 3 times, could have crossed it on the first 2. And then he chose the third one and it went straight out for the corner. And you're thinking, what on earth are we doing here, lad? Yeah. But again, you can't argue. Important goals in his first season. I think back to QPR away, Stoke away. Big important goals that gained us real serious points at a time when we were desperate for it. This year, I go to West Brom at home, 2-0 up, cruising, through the game away, goes back to 2-2. Minute later, he pops up with a goal. QPR at home, first season. Really important goals. And again, he scored on the opening day at Plymouth, against Plymouth as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Stoke is one that stands out for me. That was the 1-0 right at the end when he got that one to win the game. A shocking game of football, but we ran it from the halfway line. You can also go to Coventry away, didn't get the goal but got the assist for Shea Charles. It was him that picked the ball up again in his own half and drive forward, and we just didn't see enough of that, me personally. And the thing that kind of frustrated me more than anything was when we signed Gassama and Musaba, it was almost like we were signing wingers for fun. We signed them, and again, you do what everyone else does. You look on YouTube, look at the highlights clips, and you think, right, pacey player him. And you look at the other one, oh, another pacey player, right? And in my head, I'm thinking, him on one wing, Musaba on one side, Gassama on the other. Defenses are going to be shitting their pants when they come up with 2 fast wingers like that, and we'll be, crossing balls in for fun. There'll be goals galore, but they both didn't quite hit it off. Did they? It was one or the other every single time, and I also don't think they played that much together. Someone's probably going to correct me here and say, well, they play this many games, but in my head, they just didn't quite work in the way that I thought they were both going to work, if you know what I mean.
No, I think that's a fair comment. I think also that's probably down to the system in terms of role wanting some level of balance, in terms of you can have one winger who does that, but actually I want another winger who is going to be a little bit more Josh Windass plays as a defensive midfielder, doesn't he? Yeah. You want another winger who's going to cut in a little bit more and do a little bit more and be a bit more in control, I suppose, is the way you describe it. Like it's a bit more methodical with the deliveries. Like the amount of times that you'd see Windass receive the ball in a wide area, one touch out his feet and deliver, that was not either of those 2 players. Yeah, James, I suppose what we're talking about here is 2 relatively young players trying to make their... I know Anthony Musaba he's got a year on Djeidi Gassama, hasn't he? But both of them came to us as young players and have developed. I think that's the biggest credit that we could give the football club, is both of those players have developed at us. Have they hit the heights that you would want them to do? Possibly not. have both of them developed whilst they've been here as footballers? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Steve says Musaba got all his tricks off of FIFA. James Revel says Musaba, modern day Peter B. He says Beast, I think it's Beagre. Peter
he corrected it later down.
Beat a man 3 times in a crap delivery. Justin says his age and potential. I wanted more money for Musaba. And Michael says Musaba is if you order Gassama from Wish. That's do keep all your comments coming in. Another rumor, or I say another rumor, a rumor that kind of broke earlier on today is Max Lowe to Preston North End. Now, not sure if this is just lazy journalism or not, because Paul Heckingbottom had Max Lowe at those down the road, so obviously there's the links there. But I think with this one, like Max Lowe, he came to us. I know they said that he's not very good, and they were glad to get rid of him, and he was injury prone and stuff like that. But I was pleasantly surprised. Was surprised the right word? I was quite pleased with Max Lowe, certainly given that he had to play a lot of it at centre half, which isn't his preferred role. He's left back. He was clearly brought in so that him and Marvin Johnson could take a share of the workload and perhaps push each other for a starting place. That never happened. So what you ended up with is Marvin Johnson and Max Lowe playing far more games than both ever thought of, really. But no, I was again, any player leaving is not ideal at this sort of situation. But he's a player that, well, Marvin Johnson's not here. We won't have got a left back if he goes, because Rio Hatsusi is gone. So is Marvin Johnson, like I said. We need Max Lowe, don't we?
Yeah, I would do. I'm kind of on the fence with agreeing with this, but I probably sit in the camp of more agreeing, which is Max Lowe up until getting injured was probably the player of the season. Don't get me wrong, Shea Charles exists in this world, so for me that is where I'd draw the line there. He was legitimately brilliant for us,
but I think that's because of the what we thought we were going to get. It would just, do you know what I mean? It was that whole. If your expectations are a 5 out of 10 and it ends up being a 7, it's still a 7. But if your expectation is going to be 10 out of 10 and it's an 8, it's still better than. Do you know what I mean? It's better.
Yeah.
But it's actually it's worse than what you expect. So I think that's for Max Lowe. Did he light it up? Was he like an outstanding player? No, he wasn't. But it was a lot better than what most people thought. Which is why I think people think that of him. It's no slight on him. He wasn't. He didn't make many mistakes. And again, he was playing in a position that, to my knowledge, he'd not really played at centre back at all through his career. But he put a good fist up of it, and didn't really make many mistakes. So I can see why people have that opinion of him, if you know what I mean. I
think fair comments, James, and I do take the point. I think from my own perspective, he was the most natural ball-playing centre-half I thought we actually saw last year. I know people have particularly strong feelings about Famewo and kind of him being left-footed and him being really cultured, but I think he fits that description more, if that makes sense. The one that you've just made there, I think Akin Famewo fits that description more of a player who we kind of didn't expect a whole lot from, and then all of a sudden started the season like a house on fire. Max Lowe was never going to be, after we saw the first couple of games, we realised Max Lowe was never going to take on a winger out wide. That is not his bag at all. When he was moved into central defence, and whether he played in a 2 or a 3, he was always the one who would find time on the ball at centre half, which is quite difficult. Which is quite a difficult skill to do, especially when a team's pressing you. He would find a way out. He would find the passes. He was often the one who linked the play between sort of the centre back through to that kind of that middle line or that middle third, whether it be to Bannon, Charles, Windass dropping kind of deep. He was, from my perspective, again, I can only obviously give my own opinion on him. I thought up until his injury, he was the centre back who I felt most reassured when he was actually on the ball.
Yeah.
Do I think that he at times was naive in terms of his positioning? I go back to the James Beadle drop against Coventry. Yes, I do think he was naive in that, because centre-half is not his natural position. I said at the time, I still stand by it. Both centre-half should have blocked off that Ellis Sims run. But I lay more blame with Michael Ahekwa than I do Max Lowe, because that is your role and responsibility. You know that because you've been playing that job. You've been playing that role your entire career. I think if we lose Max Lowe, not only from the fact that we don't have a fucking left back in the club, I would be really concerned about losing a player of this caliber, because irrespective of who he's played for previously and what you feel about how good he was last year, he showed last year he is more than capable of being a mid to top end left back or centre back at this particular level in the right team, in the right system. I don't think there's much dispute about that there. If you lose him to someone like Preston for a song, because it's not going to be for money, it's not going to be for serious money, it's going to be for fuck all. Alarm bells were ringing before, they're ringing now, because who is going to play left back? We have, is it 5 contracted defenders at the club?
Yeah,
that goes down to 4. Like that goes down to
it's Max Lowe, Deshaun Bernard,
Ike Dominic Iorfa.
Do you know what? It's because I've been reading the comment about earlier. Dom, to be fair, Ike might be a better centre back than he is a striker. So
it's his year this year.
You never know. Yeah, Dom Iorfa, Jan Valery, and then Otigbeyo is the other one. There isn't anyone else there, is there?
Liam Palmer.
Yeah, at a push. But players are going to have to step up, aren't they, and play in other positions. But yeah, if we get rid of Max Lowe as well, then we are going to be looking into the under 21s and seeing what they've got down there, because they're going to have to make that step up. I mean, look, we can still sign some players, and I do feel like the transfer deadline day might be an active one. It might be after the deadline ends, when obviously you can still sign free transfers, because let's be honest, we are going to be scraping the barrel. Like, it's literally going to be whatever's left. It's like when you turn up to a party late and you go to the buffet, and it's just all the shit things that they've got left. There's no chicken wings on. They've long gone. You're stuck with the pickled onions and the quiche and stuff like that. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be picking from all the scraps, and we could well be. Again, I don't know when the window shuts, where in terms of like how many games will have still been played, but it's normally 3 or 4 games into the season, but we're going to be kind of 4, 5, 6 games in, and we'll be signing these players on a free transfer to kind of make the numbers up.
And it's also the quality of those players that are coming in that concerns me, because those are players, with no disrespect, we need players who are up for a fight. The players who will be left at that point in time, unless they are really young, untested at this level players who are coming in for a free without a club, or an experienced professional who hasn't been able to get another club. Because the point still stands, James, regardless of all this takeover chat that's going on at the minute. If your agent is recommending Sheffield Wednesday Football Club to you at this point in time with this owner, you need to be fucking sacking your agent. Yeah. What is I think the fee that we can pay is £7,000, isn't it, in terms of wages? That is a measly championship wage for any player, regardless of position, unless they're really young or without an option.
Yeah, that's why we're under the transfer embargo, the 3 transfer embargoes that we've got, don't forget. Obviously, so we need to satisfy all that. So, those 4 clubs now that we know that we owe money to, they need to be sorted. The players' wages need to be sorted. HMRC needs to be sorted. All those 3 things need to be done until we can actually, freely sign players. Obviously, the transfer fee ban we've got, so we can't pay any money. But at the moment, if we want to sign someone, it has to go through the EFL to actually get ratified and stuff. We've got to ask permission if we can sign them. Also, I think, is it 23 players? Even though the squad is 25,
yes, 23.
We can only have 23 players of professional standing. So it does. I think Joe Cran went over that kind of what felt like months ago in terms of kind of confirming all of that. Back when imagine when that was the biggest concern at the football club. Do you know what I mean? Like, how things have rapidly changed. But yeah, so that all them need to be sorted before we can actually start signing players. And we already know that he hasn't got any money, and the money that we're going to be getting coming in isn't really going to satisfy a great deal. Now, I know one of the apparently the potential bidders has agreed to kind of put money up front to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's kind of that's a normal thing in it, really, Matt. When you see these takeovers, the normal thing is that normally it is the reason why the club's been sold is because it's on its knees. So because obviously this process, it's not going to be quick, is it, Matt? And I know we're going back to kind of the takeover thing, but it's not going to be done. It ain't going to be done before the start of the season, is what I'm saying. Not a chance.
No, the due diligence process is 90 days. And if we go across to our esteemed Steel City neighbours, didn't a deal fall through in the due diligence process there?
Yeah. Wasn't that because we were a bloke that just put his logo on aeroplanes and just...
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly. But if this is the Italian who takes us over, my goodness me, we might be there. But yeah, I agree with you, James. And I think, again, it's not being negative, it's being realistic about the situation. Is that, yes, if a takeover is agreed tomorrow, my God, do I hope I wake up to that news, and that is what tomorrow is. I really, really do. If that is the case, then I think it's a 90-day window to be able to get a takeover concluded. It can happen before, it can happen like if you need a couple more days or whatever, I'm sure the EFL would extend the exclusivity period. But again, that is how long that you've got to get this deal done. Usually when you enter into this stage, it is, I would assume, if you're going off like percentages, 70-80% of the time that the deals get done. But there is also the case of it falls through. But yes, you are right, James, in what you say. That will not come before the end of the transfer window. You are going to have to go to the EFL and say, look, we're going to struggle to field a squad here. Are we able to sign this player? And if the EFL can then get in contact with the new interested party and they can show that proof of funds and all the rest of it, which they'll have already had to do to get into the negotiation stages, then yes, maybe you may be limited to, I think Birmingham went through this quite a while ago where it was 250 grand in a fee and you can pay 12 grand in wages or whatever, which again, it brings you into a different echelon of player that you're looking at there.
Yeah, right. I've got about 10 or 15 minutes left. If anyone's got any questions or anything, by the way, do get them in the comments, and we'll try and rattle a few off. There's just a few here just on Max Lowe before we do move on. Michael has said Max Lowe was a solid left back or left centre back last season, a player a top end championship club would have had. Mike Crawshaw says Max Lowe was great. It was a brilliant addition. No Leaf Clover says Lowe solid player. And Jeremy Ward, isn't Lowe one of the ones who has handed his notice in? I've seen quite a few lists around in terms of those that have handed the notice in, but obviously it was reported that Windass being one of them. It's going to be interesting though, Matt, what happens, Wednesday when I believe Wednesday is 15 days, whether or not they do get paid between now and then, and if not, interesting to find out who they are, because that do you think that'll change the mood in the camp if that ever gets revealed, and maybe some of the players might already know.
Yes, I do, James. I think the mood would significantly improve and lift. I'll be honest with you. You would hope that wages of club staff and then players and coaching staff are the first things that are paid. In terms of if that takeover is agreed and somebody has, said that they're going to front the upfront money to cover those issues that are going on. But yeah, I think it would, because ultimately, would your mood change? I know.
I mean, in terms of if you find out who the people that have handed the notice in, if you know.
Oh, sorry, James. I'm miles off
if they get paid, but then also they're still here, because obviously if they don't get paid and they leave, then you can think whatever you want about them. It doesn't really matter, does it? They've gone. But if they get paid, and then my understanding is then they can't leave. They can't just terminate the contract, and it's then known who these 6 players are. Do you think the other players that haven't handed the notice in might be thinking, he just wanted to get straight off him? Like, why is he not sticking around? If you know what I mean.
I don't think so. No. In that respect, I don't think so. I think if you are a professional footballer and this is an option that is available to you, I don't understand why you would hold a particular grudge about it. I don't understand why you would feel a particular way about it or particularly put out, because this is, I suppose, the whole reason why the PFA exists. is to allow you these opportunities to do so. So no, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, there's a couple of questions. Well, Tom's has said, "Who do you two actually think is buying us?" I'll answer that one first. I've no idea. It's the honest answer. Like, honestly, who I think is going to be, it changes constantly. At one bit, I thought it was going to be John Textor. When I saw the Talksport thing, you're like, he definitely knows something. Certainly Simon Jordan was looking at, and then you hear the Tilman Fertitta, and you think, oh my God, 11 million, 10 billion or whatever it is. He's got you thinking, oh my days, that is some serious money, that. And then, and then you think it's Wednesday, so it'll probably be neither of them, and we'll end up with someone else. Like, who I want, clearly Tilman, the money side of things. You just think, well, you'd like to think we wouldn't get into this sort of mess that we're in now. It would just, it wouldn't start not paying players. Like, it would just sell the football club before it even got to that sort of stage, is what I'm thinking in my head. The Textor thing, you look and think, well, at least he probably understands football a little bit better, given that he's got quite a few football clubs. That's obviously a plus point there. But I think for me, just turning the question to who I want, it would be Tilman, because at least then I don't have to send me American flag back anyway.
Yeah, you can crack open those Budweisers in good faith.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I haven't got a fucking clue. Is the honest answer to that question, mate. Who do I think is taking over us? I haven't got a fucking clue. At the moment, there seems to be a lot of smoke and traction behind Tilman Fertitta for a number of different reasons. Me personally, I really hope it's him, as for the reasons that I outlined right at the top of this. Ultimately, however, because this process is now being handled by an adult, and I know it's a really boring answer, and I've given it a couple of times today, I haven't got a fucking clue. Genuinely, I haven't got a clue. But my God, do I hope it is, of the three bidders that is there. My God, do I hope it's him.
Yeah. Harry Fowler tweeted earlier. I've just or commented, and I'm just going to see if I can find it. But get yourself to my page and have a look at the photo. Spotted Tilman Fertitta at the ground. It's at Harry_Fowler_. So I'm not spoil it for you. Go and have a look, people. It's an absolute belter, is all I'm saying. And Matt will be. Matt, I'll just quickly send it to you, so you've got it, and have a quick look, because it is, like I said, it is an absolute belter. I've just
whilst you're sending that through, James, I'll just pull this one up here. Alex Young, are you both happy with Danny Rill coming back?
Initially, when the news broke, I was, because I thought, do you know what? It's a bit of, it's a bit of continuity, a bit of clarity on, on the season that's coming up ahead. We've actually got a manager, having had, however many months it's been, kind of not knowing whether he's going to come back or not. Then I just thought to myself, like, is it actually plausible that he's going to come back? And I don't think it is. I don't think he's going to be there for the first game of the season. This issue will be sorted one way or the other in the next 30 days or so. But actually, the fact that we hear that the players aren't happy and stuff like that, that's just going to make things, make things even worse. And actually, it's going to be such a difficult season. I don't even think Danny Rill will be able to keep us up, to be honest. So yeah, like initially I was happy, but now, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I would suggest that I am firmly of the belief that if players are okay with it and those around the first team environment are okay with it, then I, as a fan, can't think of a manager who is available and out there currently at present. Because obviously we do have a potential manager in the wings waiting, signed as an assistant manager, but we obviously don't know that for definite. Who is a better fit for us at this point in time? Do I think that would, his actions over the summer, or that his advised actions over the summer, have tainted the way that I view him? Yes, it has massively. It's tainted the way that I view him as an individual. But I'm also aware that if he were to come back in, be stood on the dugout, and we pull off a miracle by getting a 1-0 win at Leicester in the last minute and Ugbo scores, all very quickly goes out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah, fans are very fickle, aren't they? And that'll change very, very quickly. Have you looked at the picture yet, then, Matt?
Yes. Yeah.
It's a good one, isn't it?
He's absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's stone dead ringer of him.
I'm putting all my money on him being new owner. I'm straight over to the bookies now and putting all my life savings on it because I've seen him. He's definitely there. Ground looks a bit smaller though, to be fair, but anyway, and how them flags have not burnt by being pulled by those fighter jets is I'll never know. But anyway, right, let's wrap things up then. Massive thanks everyone for joining today. Sorry if I got your hopes up at the start with the American flag and everything. No, I don't know anything. I'm not ITK as people keep saying. I'm just like everyone else, just eagerly anticipating some sort of news. I've seen rumors circulating that apparently Monday, so tomorrow or today, if you're listening to the audio version, is when perhaps something is supposed to be announced. But like you said earlier, I'll believe it when I see it, if you know what I mean. I think that we have got to kind of say that a little bit now, but no, thank you very much everyone. Do head over to patreon.com/WTRD pod. Give us 10 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes, and we'll be over there talking kind of carry on that discussion that we've just had about Danny Röhl and things and what we think is going to be happening with him next season or this season coming up. We're also going to ask the question that I floated on Twitter as well about a new stadium. If your new owners did come in, total pie in the sky question, where would that ground be? Would we want Hillsborough to be just done up, to use a better word, or do we want a new ground somewhere else, and where would that be? So we'll be talking about that as well. So yeah, do head over there. But thank you very much everyone, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.